I really did end up enjoying this book. Pretty bored, I'm not gonna lie. And so far, I'm actually enjoying this one quite a bit. Hey, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today we're going to be starting on another reading vlog where I'm going to be reading some of my most anticipated books of this year. And I'm so excited to read some of these books. So one of the books that I'm going to be reading for this video is going to be The Last One at the Wedding. This one is a new release thriller that I could not be more excited about. I just picked up this copy when I was in Chicago, and this is the same author as Hidden Pictures, which was a thriller that came out like a number of years ago now that I really enjoyed. And this one is one of my most anticipated thrillers of the whole year because I did enjoy Hidden Pictures so much, but also because the premise of this one just really intrigues me. I know that we're centered around like a father-daughter relationship in this one, and there's a wedding. Usually I do love like weddings and thrillers. Like I just think it's so much fun. I'm also going to be reading Daydream by Hannah Grace in this vlog. This is a new release romance book that I've been very excited about because even though this is technically the third book in a series of romance books, I mean, if you were wondering, I actually did DNF, the first book that was in this series, and then I didn't even attempt to read the second book in the series. But from what I understand, they can be read as standalone books. I think we're just following all of the same characters who like go to the same college or something like that. But in this one in particular really did intrigue me compared to the other ones because this protagonist is kind of like a bookish, nerdy protagonist who I just thought that I would relate to a little bit more. And then the guy, the love interest, is actually the captain of his hockey team. So I thought this one would be more up my alley with like what I tend to like in romance. And I've also heard incredible reviews for this book. I've been seeing so many of my friends giving this 5 stars and a lot of people saying that this is comparable to like Emily Henry's quality of romance writing. So it definitely has me intrigued to read this one. And then I'm also going to be reading Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty, which this is the newest book from this author, and I've been so excited and so curious to get my hands on this one. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Big Little Lies, which is another book that this author came out with, and I think the premise for this one is so unique and so interesting because in this story we're following these characters who board this plane, and while they're on the plane they get told what age they're gonna die and how they're gonna die. And then the story kind of plays out over the span of like a few years after the fact where they kind of like know this information about their life and you kind of get to see how this information impacts their life. And I think this concept is so fun. I don't know why I love books like this where characters find out their fate and you kind of get to see like how that impacts their life. I was also planning to read The Life Impossible by Matt Haig in this vlog, but well, you'll see what happens in the very first clip. But before we do jump into the video, I would just like to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is HelloFresh, because you know the holidays are just around the corner and I know that we're all looking for ways to make the holidays less stressful. And HelloFresh makes mealtime nearly hassle-free with delicious, home-delivered, chef-crafted recipes that come together quickly and are less expensive than takeout. All of it gets delivered right to your door. Something that I love about HelloFresh is that all of their meals are customizable so that they can be exactly how you want them to be. There are always options available to either trade or upgrade proteins or to swap out the side dishes. I also feel like every time that I cook a meal with HelloFresh, I do feel like my knowledge for food is growing more and more every time because I'm not necessarily the most confident person when it comes to making dinner in the kitchen, but I love that with their simple, you know, like step-by-step directions with the photos, it really does make me feel like I know what I'm doing, and I feel like I learn so much about food and about cooking every time that I cook with HelloFresh. You can also check out HelloFresh Market for over 100 add-on items that include desserts, quick breakfasts, snacks, and a lot more. I know one of the recent ones that I'm so excited to try is this overnight oats because I love a quick and simple breakfast like this, and so the fact that HelloFresh offers things like this is even more exciting. The other night I ended up making this pork sausage rigatoni rosa pasta for me and my sister and her fiance, and we all ended up loving this so much. I was really surprised, you know, because I'm not always the biggest fan of like tomato-based pasta dishes, but this one was so creamy, it was so cheesy, the zucchini added like the perfect extra little crunch, and it was really delicious. Like I'm actually gonna add this to my rotation. Like I want to try to make this more often because it was so good and it was like the perfect fall dinner. So you can get 10 free meals by going to HelloFresh.com and using my code gabbyreads10, and that's going to be applied across 7 boxes for new subscribers only, and it varies by plan. But that's 10 free HelloFresh meals when you go to HelloFresh.com and you use my code gabbyreads10. That is a lot of free food, so definitely check out the link in my description. And thank you so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring today's video. And now let's get into the reading vlog.
Keep on playing games. Oh, adding more fuel to the flames. I know I'm to blame. Yeah, so I don't wanna love you. I don't wanna hurt you anymore. Oh, I don't wanna hold you.
afternoon. I wanted to update you on some things that I've been reading because earlier today I did try to start on The Life Impossible by Matt Haig, which thank you so much to my friend Casey on my Patreon. Like, she recently just sent this to me in the mail and her note literally brought me to tears. Like, it was so sweet and I just really appreciate it so much. I tried to get into this morning and I only got about like 35 pages in before I started to get the feeling that I want to DNF this for now. I don't know if this is like a forever DNF for me, but I just can't do this right now. I can't read this one right now because I'm the kind of person that like very easily gets disgusted when I hear about, you know, things about the human body related to like medical things. Like, let's just say this protagonist is a bit of an elderly woman in this book and she keeps talking about this like surgery that she's gonna get on her legs with her veins. Like, there's something wrong with the veins in her legs and she keeps talking in such great detail about like all the different things that the doctors are saying are going wrong in her veins and her legs. Like, why do we need so many details and why do you keep bringing it up so many times? Like, I'm not even kidding. In the first 35 pages, I don't even know how often she's brought up the veins in her legs and talking about all the issues with her veins. Like, I can't. And I'm definitely the kind of person that can be a little bit of a hypochondriac, so I just don't think I need to be reading this at the moment. So instead, I put that one on pause and I have decided to pick up Daydream instead. And I am now about 30% of the way through the book. I just hit page 135. I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by like not reading the first two books in the series. I was actually only interested in reading this one because only the premise of this one really intrigued me. I think the main thing throughout this book series is that we're following the same group of students at this college called Maple Hills, I think. And so each one of these books just follows a different set of characters, I believe, that are at the same school. I mean, I don't really know for sure. In this story, something that I'm liking about it is that the guy, the male love interest that we're following in this book, he is a junior at the college and he just became captain of his hockey team. Then he's also like really struggling with his grades right now, especially with this one class in particular that he's struggling with. And then our female protagonist in this book, her name is Haley and she is a very, you know, like academic type. She has a book club and she's also like currently trying to work on her own book, which is very fun because, you know, I love books that follow writers and I love books that are, you know, about book lovers. She's also like the oldest sibling, which is definitely something that I'm connecting with her with and I relate to, because if you didn't know, I am actually the oldest sibling. I mean, I'm very lucky, you know, being an older sibling because I only have one younger sister and for the most part, we get along very well and she doesn't really give me too much of a headache, but in her situation, she definitely has a lot more on her plate as the oldest sibling, like a lot more responsibilities in her family. And so I do connect with her character, you know, in a lot of ways because I do feel like as the oldest sibling, like I am incredibly responsible and I do feel like that responsibility as the older sibling to like protect your younger siblings, like there's a lot of things that I'm connecting with her there. I also really do appreciate the fact that this has been such a slow burn so far. I mean, I'm not thrilled, to be honest, that this book is so long. Like, holy shit, I didn't realize that this book was like 430 pages. I was like, why is it so thick? But at the same time, if the book has to be longer because it's a slow burn, then I don't mind it as much, you know, because I do enjoy romances more when there's like a build up and there's a little bit more tension between them than just like jumping right into sex scenes. Like, I don't feel anything when that happens and I don't want them to even kiss or like even be looking at each other for the first 100 pages, you know? So like, so far we're so good because she's kind of more like nerdy and bookish. She's going to be like helping him study for his class that he seems to be struggling with. But then I also like that their relationship is kind of starting more as a friendship because like he doesn't really have anybody in his life that like talks about anything other than hockey with him. And he keeps saying how it's like very refreshing for him to talk to her, you know, because he doesn't really have anybody else in his life to talk to about like other stuff. The tension is cute. I am liking these two both as characters individually, which I think is a really good sign in a romance book because like I have to root for them as individuals before I could ever root for them to be together, you know? So I feel like this author is doing a really good job at like setting them up and setting up the story. I'm invested. I think this has been the perfect, like more lighthearted thing for me to listen to, you know, just because it's been kind of a hard time over here mentally, I'm not gonna lie. And so having something like this feels like the perfect read for me right now. Like, it just feels like it's just distracting enough, just really like fun and light to listen to, and I'm liking their chemistry a lot. So this has been going well. I recently got this little spooky coloring book off of Amazon because my sister recently bought a bunch of those like Oahu pens or whatever they're called, and she's been getting really into coloring recently, and it's just really inspired me to want to do the same. But unfortunately, I am just not nearly as skilled with coloring as some of my friends are. And it's very discouraging because like I'm not the kind of person that like looks at a color palette and like knows what colors are gonna like go well together. So I mean, my first one, I mean, it looks cute, but it's also kind of a disaster when you look closely because like, oh my god, like these shades of oranges are different shades, and like I didn't think that this was gonna be orange. Like, that was not my intent. I thought it would be more yellowy. And then I know there's like way too many different shades of blue happening on this bed. You know, it's like I tried, okay? I do like the second one that I did a little bit more, because I feel like these colors, like, they actually like go together slightly better, and I feel like these colors look more natural to like an actual farm or something. But I am struggling a little bit with the coloring, you know, and I feel like I know it's not something that I'm gonna be like good at right away, because I've never been good at like color palettes and like figuring that shit out. Like, I do think coloring, yes, while it is kind of like a mindless fun activity, it is also something that you can be good at or not that good at, and I feel like I'm not that good at coloring, at least right now. I don't know, it could be something that I work on. But it is very nice, you know, to just sit there and color while listening to an audiobook. Like, that's a great experience. So I hope to be doing that a little bit more throughout the rest of this fall. Anyways, it's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon right now. I think my plan for this afternoon is to go to the gym, because it would be really nice just to like get out of the apartment, walk on a treadmill for a little bit. I think I am going to continue to listen to this one on audio. And then later tonight, I do have the troop talk that I'm going to be doing with my Patreon, where we're going to be doing ghost stories, and it should be a fun time. I am pretty nervous for it though, because I am the kind of person that will get very scared when I hear a ghost story. But the exciting thing is that my friend Jan from my Patreon, like, he's going to be on this live stream with me, and I'm really excited because we've never actually, like, you know, talked face to face before, like in real time. So like, this is going to be a first, and I think it's going to be a really great live show. Like, I can't wait to hear everyone's ghost stories. Actually going to be joined by a very special guest. Tonight we have Ghostface.
Hi, Bestie.
Hello, it is much later in the night now. It is after 10 o'clock at night. But earlier tonight, me and my friend Jan ended up doing the troop talk, like the ghost stories. And it was genuinely so much fun, like one of my favorite live shows that I've ever done for my Patreon. Because not only were the stories that my Patreon members like sent in, they were genuinely such scary ghost stories, but then we also had like the weirdest experience where like we had a weird technical glitch that happened 2 times in a row where both of our screens went black. It was very random, and to be honest, I've never really had anything like that happen during a live show before, so like, I don't know, was that a ghost messing with the live stream? I'm not totally sure, but it was really freaky. I can see you, yeah, what just happened?
I don't know.
Did the ghost just mess with my stream? I was like, hello? Did it just black out for everybody? You're like, actually, now it's time to go. I decided to make apple crisp tonight, which is something that I've been hearing about. I actually heard a lot of my friends on Patreon like earlier last month talking about it. So I made it tonight and it turned out so good. Like, it was so sweet. Oh my god, it was very, very sweet, but it was so good and it turned out amazing. And then after that, me and my sister were watching some of the Vampire Diaries. We're getting really close to finishing season 3 now. And I also have spent most of this day still reading Daydream. I mean, gosh, this book is just so long, you know? I'm about 280 pages in now. I'm on chapter 27, but I still still do have a pretty big chunk of this book left, but I am still really enjoying this. There was one part that I had to tab that I thought was so funny and so relatable, because she talks about how she's listening to like her sad Taylor Swift playlist, which I find that so funny because I'm like, as Swifties, do we all have a playlist that's the sad Taylor Swift playlist? I think so. But she's like, I reached for my phone and turned down my sad Taylor music playlist because Henry's just gotten through his funk and he doesn't need to see me bawl my eyes out if This Is Me Trying comes on. Also, just want to say that I have gotten to some of the steamy scenes now, and the steamy scenes in this book are just so well written. Oh my god, I was almost like blushing at the gym. I was like, oh my god, like they are so cute together, and the audiobook is cute. Like the audiobook is actually good. It's not cringy. So like I'm having a fun time with this. I'm really enjoying it. I don't know why at this point in time though, I do feel like it's gonna be more of like a 4-star and not a 5-star. And the only way why I know that I can like feel that difference is because usually when I'm reading like a 5-star romance, I feel like an insane need to like tab and highlight and like annotate it, you know? And with this book, I mean, as much as I'm enjoying it, I haven't really felt a strong urge to like, I don't know, write anything down or like make any annotations so far. So I feel like that's what's telling me it's the difference between like a 4-star romance and a 5-star romance. I think I'm gonna try to finish this one up tomorrow. I really want to try to like get out of the apartment tomorrow and go down to one of the parks that I haven't gone to in a long time. Drove all the way down here to the park. It was literally like a 40-minute drive down here, and on the drive down here it was starting to rain so much, and I was like, no, because I was thinking, oh my god, it's gonna rain like the whole time that I'm here. But then I was really excited because at the time that I pulled up to this park it wasn't even raining, so I was like, oh cool. So I ran into the little coffee shop here because I was like, I'll just grab a quick bite to eat, and then I wanted to go and like sit by the water. But then after I came out of the coffee shop, unfortunately the rain has picked up, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna sit in my car and try to like wait it out. But it's been like 30+ minutes and it just continues to rain, and the rain has gotten like a lot harder too. So it's not even like the kind of rain where I can just kind of like sit out there. Like I was starting to get soaked even with this jacket. Like I borrowed my sister's like fancy jacket today because I was like, oh, this is gonna keep me warm and like maybe I can still sit outside even if it is raining. But like all of my stuff is getting soaking wet, so unfortunately my plans have failed. But I did want to update you on some reading things because I have finished reading Daydream, and I do think that I'm probably gonna end up giving this 4 stars because I really did end up enjoying this book. Like, I don't know, I really liked the chemistry between these two. I mean, as I was saying last night, like, I still think this book was definitely too long. I mean, there was a point in the audiobook where we still had like 3 hours left on the audiobook, and I was feeling like things should end soon, or like things should get resolved soon. So I definitely think it was a little bit too long. Like, I don't think it needed to be 400+ pages, but at the same time, I can't help but really appreciate this story. I really did like both of these characters. I feel like both of these characters just really understood each other in a really beautiful way because they both feel a lot of pressure in their lives for different things, you know, because she is the oldest sibling, so she feels a lot of responsibility in that way and a lot of pressure as the oldest sibling to help out her family. And then he feels a lot of pressure, you know, as the captain of his hockey team. And so I feel like because they have those kinds of responsibilities put on them, they definitely understand each other in a way that not a lot of people do. And I just thought that their relationship was so beautiful and so sweet. sweet. I just really love how like patient and understanding they were with each other. And they actually genuinely had such good chemistry. Like I feel like the sex scenes in this book were written so well. Like they were so good. And I am such a picky bitch, you know, when it comes to sex scenes in my romance books. Like sometimes I'm like, ew, skim. And then sometimes I'm like, okay, like this is actually well written, and I'm like, I'm blushing. So this was mostly a good time. I was like smiling the entire time I was reading this book. Like I really did like the writing in this a lot. Also, I don't know why I just now realized that this cardigan that she's wearing on the cover, like it has the stars on the elbow, like the elbow patch stars, and I'm like, isn't that like the Taylor Swift cardigan? Like actually, just decided to start reading The Last One at the Wedding because this is the next book that I'm hoping to read for this vlog. And so far, I just got about 86 pages in, and I'm really liking the setup of this one so far. Because in this story, we're following this guy named Frank, who's in his 50s, and he has this daughter named Maggie that at one point he was really close to her, but they haven't spoken in the last 3 years. And we don't exactly know why they stopped speaking. Like, we don't know what happened between them at this point, but there is some tension in their relationship. But randomly one night, Maggie, the daughter, calls him and tells him that she's gonna be getting married. And like, he doesn't even know who this guy is. Like, he doesn't even know that she was in a relationship, you know, but she calls and says that she wants him to be at the wedding, and the wedding's gonna be happening like very soon. But there is a lot of red flags, you know, because this is a guy that she just met like literally less than 6 months ago. And then also like about this guy, there's just a few different red flags that he's starting to feel like maybe this guy isn't exactly who he says he is. You know, he comes from like a very rich family. Like this guy's dad is like a really, really rich family. Then the guy himself, like he's a painter, and he's kind of like one of those like snobby guys who like thinks that he's gonna be super successful with his painting. But it is kind of interesting because in this story, we're only following from the dad's point of view, you know? So like we kind of do get flashbacks of like her childhood, and we kind of get to see like how she grew up. I don't know, so far I am finding it really interesting. Like I am connecting with the story a lot because I do love stories like this that involve like father-daughter relationships, especially when like there's tension in the relationship and like something has clearly happened in the past, like why they aren't talking to each other anymore. I am really curious, you know, to see like what's going on with this guy exactly and like what he's up to. But I'm really liking the setup of this so far because I'm loving the vibes of like, you know, this dad driving up to Boston and kind of like seeing the way that she's living, you know, like her and her fiance, they live in this like super fancy penthouse. And I don't know, it's like one of those stories where like, oh, the only way that they can get access into this wedding is if they like sign all of these like privacy documents and like NDAs. And it's just like, you know that something probably more shady is going on at this place, but you don't know exactly what it is yet. So far I am liking the vibes of this. I'm connecting with the characters. I really do like the father-daughter relationship that this story seems like it's centered around. I think I might actually just like head back to the apartment because it doesn't look like it's gonna stop raining. But I'm gonna continue listening to this one on audio, so I will update you with thoughts once I get further in. Much later in the night. It is now after 9 o'clock at night, but I have so many things to update you on. Well, first thing is that right after I was at that park, I decided to go and visit one of my local bookstores because I was like, since it's raining, you know, I might as well go somewhere indoors. And this bookstore is one that I never really get to go to, but it's like right down the street from that park. And this is the bookstore that has the ARC shelf, which you might be familiar with because I talk about it all the time. Dude, I kind of hit the jackpot while I was at that bookstore because I was able to find ARC copies of this book called Such a Bad Influence, and then this one called Exposure. And these are two books that I've had my eye on for quite some time, especially Such a Bad Influence. Like I keep hearing about this thriller, and so I was really excited to find this one there. And then this one, Exposure, is like a literary fiction book that just sounds like it's gonna be really hard hitting. And this one just came out in September, so I'm really excited that I was able to get my hands on both of these. And it's really cool because at that bookstore, technically they're not selling ARCs, but you can make a donation to the bookstore to take these home, which is very fun. And then also I ended up finding Smother Moss on the discount rack. It was only $10 for the paperback. And Smother Moss is a book that I first originally heard of on my Patreon, actually. My friend Holly on Patreon, she was the one who first recommended this to me, and she was the first person I ever heard talk about it, but it sounds like it's gonna be really unique and really weird. This is one that I don't know too much about it plot-wise, but I do know that it's like a gothic horror mystery story that takes place in the 1980s, and we follow these two sisters. It sounds like it's gonna be something that's like right up my alley, so I'm so glad that I found it there on the clearance rack. So I'm so happy with my cute little book haul from today. And then after I got home from doing all the things today, I was actually just sitting in here coloring. The first coloring page that I did, I screwed it up so badly that like I don't even want to show it to you. But look at how cute this other one that I did. I love that I made these little flowers all pink and then like the actual curtains yellow. I don't know, I definitely messed up on parts of this still, but I really like how this one turned out, and I feel like the more that I'm coloring, the better that I'm getting at it, or at least that's what I'm telling myself. But I'm really just doing it for fun. Like, I don't really care if the colors like don't perfectly go together. I did want to let you know that I still have been listening to The Last One at the Wedding. I've been listening to this on audio almost all day. I'm now 75% of the way through the book on page 248, and I'm sorry to say that it's kind of losing me a little bit. I just thought at this point in the book that it would feel a little bit more suspenseful and engaging, and I think it's ramping up towards that right now. But I still feel like for most of this book, I have felt pretty bored, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know, the pacing of this story is just killing me. I mean, gosh, the fact that I have like less than 100 pages left of this book and I'm not really wanting to read it tonight, I feel like that just goes to show that it's not really gripping me the way that I want this book to grip me. Because usually with thrillers, like I'm the kind of person that's like, I want to read them all in one sitting because I find thrillers to be very addictive. But with this writing in particular, like it is not that addictive. I mean, I definitely want to finish it. I just don't really feel like I'm in the mood to finish this tonight. So I might actually save the rest of this for tomorrow, even though tomorrow is actually Halloween. I'm filming this vlog, you know, about a week in advance. I'm like trying to be a week ahead of schedule on YouTube. Knowing that tomorrow's Halloween, I don't even know if I'm gonna have any time to read tomorrow because I don't really know what we're gonna be doing tomorrow for Halloween. But like, I don't know if I'm gonna be like wanting to pick up a book on Halloween that I'm not even loving that much. Anyways, I don't really know. But you want to hear some exciting news? Is that tonight the Dodgers won the World Series. Oh my gosh, it was game 5 and it was such an intense game. Oh my gosh, me, Rachel, and Obed were watching it downstairs. It was so much fun. Like, it was genuinely such a great game. They won 7-6. Like, it was so close. And like the entire game, they were so neck and neck with each other. Like, this was such a great World Series. Anyway, I think I'm gonna spend the rest of this night watching the new season of Love is Blind, and then I might have to get some video editing done. I just made my cup of herbal tea because I am a tea girl now. Anyway, that's gonna be all from me, and I will see you tomorrow on Halloween. We made it. Hello, how's it going? It is the night of Halloween, and wow, today has been such an incredible day. Like, it's been such a great Halloween. As you saw from a lot of the footage today, you know, me and my sister, we ended up going to this apple farm that we really like to go to, and surprisingly there was nobody there. It was actually like almost completely wiped out, to be honest. Like, they barely had any pumpkins left, but it was still so much fun to go. We ended up getting some iced coffee on the way home that was so good, and then we spent a lot of this afternoon just like coloring in the kitchen while we were watching like horror movies in the background. We watched Halloween, of course, because like, is it even Halloween if you don't watch Halloween? And then we also watched It, which was so fun. And then later tonight, we actually decided to watch Speak No Evil, new movie that just came out this year. And I'm so shocked that I loved it as much as I did. That was such an intense movie. Oh my god, like I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. So that was a really great movie pick for the night. Like, all three of us ended up liking it a lot. We actually did get a few trick-or-treaters at our door, which was so fun. And we actually had a little bowl of candy and stuff. But I did want to update you because I have finished listening to the audiobook for The One at the Wedding. You know what sucks? Because I thought the beginning of this book was pretty interesting. You know, like the first 50% of this book, I was pretty invested, and then I was starting to feel like, okay, like the story's starting to drag. I don't know, like I was feeling not as connected with the characters, and I kept going back and forth between feeling like I liked reading from the point of view of this dad sometimes, but then I really didn't like reading from his point of view at times. Like, I feel like he could be so critical of certain things or certain people, and I was like, why, dude? I do understand that he's like an older white dude, but I was like, why does he have to be so cynical about certain things, especially when it comes to this little girl? Like, I don't know, I just didn't understand his attitude about things. This book literally feels like it ends like 3 different times, and I was so confused. Like, the first time that I thought that this book was like ending, I looked down and I was like, no, I still have like 3 hours left of the audiobook. So like, what the heck? Why does it feel like things are wrapping up? And like, it's just so confusing to me because things kind of do wrap up, and then you're just reading about so much aftermath for such a long time, and then the story really started to drag like even more. And every time I thought the book was coming to an end, it was like there was still more happening. I was like, okay, like I'm ready for things to get wrapped up now. I just was really losing interest at the end. And then that final chapter, like, I'm sorry, what? I'm gonna need somebody to explain that very ending to me because I was like, what? Like, huh? Like, is my copy like missing some pages, or like, what do you mean? I just did not like this the way that I was hoping to. So that freaking sucks. Like, ratings wise, I don't even know how I'm gonna go about rating this. This honestly might be like a 2-star, maybe 2.5 stars if I think about it more. I don't know. But I'm just kind of frustrated because that ending, I feel like this ending really drops the ball. And I was looking through some reviews on Goodreads, and it seems like even people that did like this book are still saying, yeah, what the fuck was that ending? Like, that ending kind of sucked. So it does feel like the general consensus and opinion for this book is that the ending sucks. And like, that's so annoying in a thriller when an ending is just unsatisfying like this. Like, I am so frustrated about it. I'm really glad that I got to watch a really good movie tonight, and I've been watching a lot of old horror movie favorites. It's been a good day. You know, even my cousin called me, we got to catch up. I called my mom and we got to catch up. There was a lot of like socializing today that feels really good. And it was just an all-around great day, and it's gonna be an all-around great weekend because tomorrow my friend Brittany is actually gonna come and visit tomorrow. And so tomorrow in the morning before she visits, I need to like clean this apartment and get a lot of stuff done tomorrow. And so I think I'm gonna probably like start on an audiobook for something else tomorrow while I'm doing all of the cleaning things. Hello, it is 1 o'clock on the next day. I have spent this entire morning just cleaning this apartment and like getting prepared for this weekend, you know, with having my friend over. And while I've been doing that, I have started listening to Here One Moment by Leanne Moriarty on audio. And I am now on chapter 43. I'm 160 pages in. And so far, I'm actually enjoying this one quite a bit. I mean, Leanne Moriarty is an author that I have loved in the past. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Big Little Lies, but this one in particular really intrigued me because the premise for this one is so fascinating. Like, it's genuinely one of my favorite things to read about. So in this story, we're following these characters who are on board this airplane. And then there's this lady that boards the airplane that they end up calling her like the Death Lady. And basically this woman starts going around to every single passenger on the airplane, and she's like telling them how they're gonna die and what age they're gonna die. And she's like this psychic who feels like she needs to like do this deed. I don't totally understand the reason why she's doing this, and I don't even know if we're supposed to know the reason why she's doing it, but she's literally just going row by row, and she's like, you, heart attack, you're gonna die at the age of 66. And then she'll be like, you're gonna drown when you're like 25 or something. Like, she literally just goes passenger by passenger and she starts telling them that, and then they're like, wait, what? And the people like on the plane aren't even really paying attention sometimes. Like, sometimes they're like pulling out their headphone and they're like, I'm sorry, what? And they're like, you said something about dying? Like, it's just so bizarre and so weird. And so I really like the first, you know, like 50 to 100 pages of this book are just getting the perspective of a ton of different passengers who are on this flight. You even get the perspective of like one of the flight attendants, and you do get the perspective of this like Death Lady herself, which I was not expecting, and I actually really like getting her perspective too. I really like that these chapters are absolutely flying by, because I was kind of worried, you know, because this book is almost like 500 pages, and I was like, oh my god, like, is this gonna be one of those books that just feels like it's too long? But a lot of these chapters are just like really short. Like, some of the chapters aren't even a full page long, and honestly, like, the pacing of these chapters, it is just flying by. I also thought I would feel like overwhelmed, like maybe we're following way too many characters, but I honestly kind of like the feeling of how many characters we're following, because I feel like with books that have such a unique concept like this, for me, it's like the more situations and the more characters that we follow, it's almost like the better, because then you get to see all kinds of different scenarios play out. I mean, this book is definitely reminding me of that book, The Measure, which is a book that I read earlier this year, which is another another book that's very similar to this one because in that story, you're also following characters who find out when they're going to die. But this one is a little bit different because people are not only finding out when they're gonna die, like what age they'll be, but they're also finding out how they're going to die. And I think it's very interesting that all of this happened while they were on a flight. Like, it seems like it was very random that this happened and these people were like randomly selected on this flight to find out their fate. I don't know, I'm just really vibing with the writing style in this. Like, I'm finding this book to be so well written and so engaging. I don't really think there's any characters necessarily that are like standout characters for me right now outside of like this death lady. And I also just love stories like this that are so thought-provoking, you know, because it really makes you think about like, well, what would you do if this lady just walked up to you and said you're gonna die in like less than 5 years? And out of all of the passengers on this flight, there are 6 passengers in particular that get the news that like their death is gonna be coming a lot sooner than they expected. But it's also something like they don't know if they can believe it, right? So like I kind of like that we're following these characters in the aftermath of this flight when some of the deaths start coming true and they're starting to realize like, oh my gosh, like maybe this lady was right. And I think that's like the truly horrifying thing about this is when you start to realize like maybe her prediction was actually real. But I really do love a premise like this that like makes you think about life, and it's very thought-provoking, and it does make you think about, you know, like your own death and whether or not that's something you would want to know about in advance. You know, I used to be the kind of person that I was like, yeah, you know, like I really want to know, like if I could know like how old I would be when I died or like how I would die, I used to be like, yeah, of course I would want to know. But honestly, the older I get and the more like anxious of a person that I've become, I actually think I would rather not know. Like, I don't want to know. Because like, yes, while it does make me anxious to like not know that information, I can't even imagine the anxiety that I would feel if I did know that information, and then you feel like your time is even more limited. Then maybe that's like the point, you know, because like it encourages you to live your life more because you know your time is limited. But like we already do know as human beings that our time is limited. You know, like 100 years is such a short time and most people don't even get that. So I don't know, it's very thought-provoking. I am very intrigued by this. I'm liking the writing in this a lot. It's so well written. I think today I have a few hours until the booktube live show that's happening tonight with my friends Marcy and Allie. I'm so excited to discuss Incidents Around the House, you know, because it's like one of my favorite books of this whole year. And so I think until then, I'm just gonna continue listening to this one on audio. I'm still gonna be doing some cleaning things. How's it going? It is now Sunday night. My friend Brittany ended up coming over and she stayed 2 nights and it was so much fun. I mean, as you saw from the very few clips that I did actually film, I got to go down to Bellingham to try this new ramen spot that I've been wanting to try ever since like they opened in the summertime. Really good. Oh my gosh, dude, eating ramen on a cold night really is everything. Like it just makes you feel so warm inside and it's incredible. And then last night we also spent a lot of time coloring with Rachel. I actually got this really cute coloring that's like related to BTS. And so I got one of these coloring books for both me and Brittany because we're both, you know, really big into BTS. And it has been so much fun doing this coloring book together. The 2 cider flavors that I got, one of them was like a spiced pumpkin flavor and then the other one was chai. And it was so cool because I was like, how is chai gonna taste in cider? Like I wasn't sure how I was gonna feel about it, but I thought that one was actually so much better. Like who would have thought that the flavor of chai tastes absolutely incredible in a cider? But anyway, it was a really great weekend. I spent the rest of today listening to the last 50% of Here One Moment. And oh man, this is another one that I feel like I have some mixed feelings on. So some of the best things that I can say about this book is that the ending of this book was very satisfying. I actually really liked the ending. Another positive would be I love how thought-provoking this book is. You know, this is a premise that I could read again and again and again. You know, like I live for it. I love the thought-provoking shit like this that's like, if you knew how much time that you had left on this earth, how would that change your life? You know, like how would that change your daily routine? How would that change like how you view things in the world? And I really like this book's, you know, take on it too, because it's almost like the question of, now that these people have been informed about like when they're going to die, did they actually die because they knew? You know, because I do feel like there's a lot of question throughout this book, like maybe if somebody heard that like they were gonna die in a car accident, then maybe they've been like trying to avoid cars for a long time, and then maybe because they knew that they were gonna die in a car accident, maybe that led them to their death. There was just some very, you know, like thought-provoking shit like that throughout this book that I really enjoyed. And in this book, I simultaneously love the fact that we get so many characters in this book, but I also don't like it at the same time. I think it's more so that my issue in this book is that I don't love the character Cherry, or like the death lady, that we're following throughout the entire story. For some reason, I just really wasn't connecting with her perspective, and we get a lot of it throughout the book. I was much more invested in, you know, the passengers and all of the people who got told their fate, as opposed to the woman who like gave them their fate. And so I personally think for me, if we had had a little bit less of like the death lady or Cherry's chapters, I really think I could have enjoyed this one a lot more. I do feel like I was more connected to the stories of the passengers, but even still, like, I don't think there was any set of characters that stood out to me against the rest of them. So like, I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, you know, because like there weren't any characters that I got super attached to in this. Something that is a tiny little like nitpick annoying thing that I just wanted to address is that we do follow a lot of characters in this book, and at times it could be confusing for like a few seconds because at the start of each chapter, you don't really know who you're following from yet. And so every time we would start a new chapter, it would take just a second for me to like think about like, okay, who are we following right now? So I do kind of wish in a way that we could get like a character name right under the chapter just so it's clear to the reader like whose perspective you're reading from, because the audiobook definitely doesn't help as far as that goes either, because there's only one audiobook narrator for every single person on this book. But I did like the audiobook. I thought the audiobook was done very well, and it definitely kept me engaged. But I think that's one of my biggest negatives actually though with this book, is that it just feels too long. There's definitely a point in the story where the story just really starts to drag. I don't think this book needed to be nearly 500 pages long. And like I was saying, I think if anything, maybe this author just should have cut down completely on Cherry's chapters. Like I really think this book could have been even better without her chapters, but maybe that's like an unpopular opinion. I don't know, because when I look on Goodreads, I see a lot of people are actually really connecting with that character. I think ratings wise with this one, I think I want to give it like 3.5 stars. I have seen this concept kind of, you know, done before, at least with books like The Measure or something like that. And The Measure is a book that I gave 5 stars. I feel like I've read books that have done this subject a little bit better, or like a little bit more particular to like my taste. And I also think I just can't rate this book higher than 3.5 stars because of some of those issues that I had with it. I really do think though that this book would work so well as like a TV series or like a movie. Like I would be shocked, to be honest, if this didn't get adapted, you know, because it's Leanne Moriarty and she's like, you know, she's done Big Little Lies and like so many iconic things. I really can see this one getting adapted. Like I see that in the future happening. So this one ended up being around a 3.5 stars for me. Again, that's not a bad rating. I actually really enjoyed this one a lot and I have mostly positive feelings about it. And that's gonna be a wrap on this vlog. I mean, it sucks, you know, it does suck that I didn't find any new like favorites necessarily in this vlog, but I am happy about the fact that I've finally gotten around to reading some of my most anticipated books of the whole year. It just feels very good to get to these books that I've been excited to read for such a long time. So you'll have to let me know if you've read any of the books that I talked about in this vlog. If you've read them as well, let me know what you think. And thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate you and I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!